Welcome to the deep dive. So, you sent us this really interesting research article. What works for reading interventions in Chinese children at risk for reading difficulties? A systematic review. Quite a title.
It is, yeah. And it's looking at findings over the last 3 decades. It's a pretty comprehensive look.
Definitely sounds like it.
Mm.
And, I mean, the scale of the issue is huge, isn't it? The article mentions over 15 million children in China facing these reading difficulties.
Absolutely. 15 million. So figuring out what actually works is, well, it's incredibly important. It's not just academic.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive, essentially, to pull out the key insights for you, our listeners, from this study. What does the evidence really say about helping these kids?
Exactly. And this isn't just one study's opinion. It's a meta-analysis.
Okay, explain that a bit. Meta-analysis means?
It means they gathered results from 51 different studies, combined them systematically.
51. Wow.
Yeah, covering over 2,000 children aged roughly 6 to 13. So it gives us a much stronger, sort of broader picture than just a single study could.
Okay, got it. So 51 studies, 2,000 plus kids. That's solid. And the study looked at different types of help, right? Like interventions focusing on decoding.
Yes, decoding skills, also metalinguistic skills and cognitive skills.
Right. And they looked at how these affected both the decoding itself, reading the words, and also reading comprehension, understanding the meaning.
Precisely. That's the framework. What helps kids read the characters and what helps them understand the text. Let's maybe start with the decoding outcomes.
That sounds good. So for decoding, what
Yeah.
was the main finding?
Well, the big headline was that interventions specifically targeting decoding skills, they showed a really significant positive effect.
Significant how? They gave a number, didn't they? A G value.
They did. It was G 1.018, which in statistical terms is a large effect size, a really strong positive impact.
Okay, G 1.118. So focusing on decoding definitely helps with, well, decoding makes sense. Can you remind us what decoding means, specifically for Chinese characters?
Sure, it's essentially about breaking down the characters or words to understand them, recognizing the visual shapes, maybe linking them to sounds, though Chinese isn't purely phonetic like English, and pulling the meaning from memory.
Okay, so interventions might focus on things like radicals, the components within characters, or maybe character structure, vocabulary.
Exactly, building those foundational skills for recognizing the individual kind of building blocks of the language.
Right. So a clear win for decoding focus, improving decoding. What about the other types, the metalinguistic and cognitive skills interventions? Did they help with decoding too?
They did show positive effects, yeah, but not as strong as the direct decoding ones.
Okay.
For metalinguistic skills interventions, the effect on decoding was G or 0.57.
Still positive, but about half the size of the decoding focused ones.
Right. And for cognitive skills interventions, it was similar, G O'Keel's 0.52, also positive, but again, less impact than directly targeting decoding.
Let's clarify those terms a bit. Metalinguistic skills for Chinese reading.
Right.
What does that involve? Is it like understanding word structure?
Yeah, it's that awareness of language structure, understanding how words are formed, recognizing those semantic radicals, the parts that hint at meaning, maybe awareness of tones, which are crucial in spoken Chinese for meaning.
Okay, so knowing that the water radical often means something water-related, that kind of thing.
Exactly. That's a metalinguistic insight that can help decode unfamiliar characters.
Got it. And cognitive skills. That sounds pretty broad. What falls under that? Attention, memory.
Generally, yes. Things like attention, working memory, maybe processing speed, interventions might try to boost these underlying functions.
The idea being if you have better memory, you can handle the information needed for decoding better.
That's the theory, yeah. But as the results show, the impact on decoding itself wasn't as strong as just practicing decoding.
And the study directly compared them, right? Decoding focus versus cognitive focus.
It did. And it explicitly found that the decoding-focused interventions had a stronger effect on decoding than the cognitive skills ones.
Okay, that seems like a really key takeaway.
Yeah.
Focus on the skill you want to improve.
Pretty much. And then there was another interesting comparison they made.
Oh, yeah?
They looked at interventions that only focused on decoding versus ones that mixed things up, like combined decoding work with metalinguistic skill training, multi-component versus single component.
Did mixing them make it better?
Surprisingly, no. Or rather, the interventions that just focused on decoding were as effective at improving decoding as the combined ones.
Wow. Really? So you don't necessarily need the bells and whistles, just pure decoding focus works just as well for improving decoding itself.
That's what this meta-analysis suggests, yes. It was a pretty practical finding. Could mean interventions can be more streamlined, potentially.
Huh. That's definitely food for thought. Okay, so for just getting better at reading the characters, a laser focus on decoding seems highly effective, maybe even the most efficient route.
It appears so. Now that's decoding, but what about actually understanding what you're reading? Comprehension.
Right, the other half of the equation. How did these different interventions stack up when looking at reading comprehension outcomes?
Okay, so here, interventions targeting decoding skills still showed a positive effect on comprehension. The G value was 0.64.
It's still a decent positive effect then. Makes sense that if you can read the words better, you understand better.
Right. And interestingly, interventions targeting metalinguistic skills also had a strong positive effect on comprehension. Even slightly stronger here, actually, with G equals 0.79.
Oh, interesting. So that language awareness piece really helps with pulling the meaning together.
It seems so. Understanding sentence structure, word nuances, that likely contributes directly to comprehension.
Okay, so decoding focus helps comprehension. Metalinguistic focus helps comprehension. What about the cognitive skills interventions? Did they help here?
And this is where it gets really stark.
Oh,
The meta-analysis found that interventions targeting cognitive skills did not show a positive effect on reading comprehension.
not at all.
Nope. The G-value was actually slightly negative, -0.08, essentially zero impact.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. So trying to boost general attention or memory didn't translate into better understanding of the text for these kids.
According to this large body of research, no. It might have a tiny effect on recognizing a character, as we saw earlier, but it doesn't seem to help them grasp the meaning of what they read.
That's a critical distinction, and comparing, again, decoding focus versus cognitive focus for comprehension.
Similar to the decoding outcomes, the decoding-focused interventions were found to be more effective for improving comprehension than the cognitive skills interventions were.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize this, pull it all together.
Right. If we look at both outcomes, decoding and comprehension, the consistent finding is that interventions targeting either decoding skills or metalinguistic skills work. They show positive effects.
But the cognitive skills ones, not so much, especially for comprehension.
Exactly. They just didn't seem to move the needle on understanding the text and had a weaker effect even on decoding compared to direct decoding work.
And the researchers had a main takeaway phrase for this, didn't they? Something about the active ingredient.
Yes, that was their conclusion based on everything. They proposed that decoding seems to be the active ingredient for successful reading interventions for these Chinese children at risk.
The active ingredient. I like that. It really frames it clearly. It suggests that nailing the decoding part is just fundamental.
It really does. It implies that while other things like language awareness are also very helpful, especially for comprehension, you've got to have that strong decoding foundation.
So for you, the listener who sent this in, the core message from this massive review of 3 decades of research seems pretty clear-cut. When trying to help Chinese kids struggling with reading, focusing directly on decoding skills seems to be the most powerful approach.
It benefits both reading the words and understanding the meaning.
And while working on metalinguistic skills is also beneficial, especially for comprehension, those cognitive-only interventions just don't seem to pack the same punch.
That's what the data across these 51 studies indicates, yeah.
So a final thought maybe for our listener to mull over.
Yeah.
Given these findings, what does this tell us about sort of the basic architecture of reading in Chinese? And how could this shape the way we design support or tutoring?
That's a great question to reflect on. It really highlights that foundational decoding piece. Of course, this is one comprehensive review, and research is always ongoing, always refining things, but it definitely provides a strong perspective based on a lot of work.
Absolutely. A really valuable deep dive based on that article you shared. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Glad we could dig into it.